black hole had appeared without warning. One moment, the night sky over Earth was as tranquil as ever, and the next, telescopes worldwide caught the impossible, a tear in space centered near the Orion Nebula. Captain Rogers stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, the Earth fleet's most advanced exploratory vessel, watching the anomaly on the main screen. The swirling mass of the black hole shimmered, its edges glowing faintly green and blue. What made it stranger was that, instead of pulling everything into its depths, it emitted light and something else. "Any readings?" Rogers asked, his tone sharp and commanding. Lieutenant Harper, his science officer, frowned as she examined the data streaming across her console. "It's emitting a signal, Captain. Pulses, almost like a beacon. But it's not random, it's structured." Rogers folded his arms, his weathered face set in a grim line. "A signal for who?" Before Harper could answer, the anomaly flared brighter, and the bridge lights dimmed for a moment as the ship's systems adjusted to the sudden energy surge. Then, the first of the alien ships emerged. Sleek, metallic vessels poured from the black hole, their designs unlike anything Rogers had ever seen. They glowed with an eerie blue hue, and their movements were precise, almost predatory. "Contact!" shouted Commander Malik, the ship's tactical officer. "Multiple bogies exiting the anomaly. They're heading straight for Earth. Red alert." Rogers barked, the bridge erupting into activity as alarms sounded. "Bring weapons online and hail the fleet. We need a perimeter around this thing now." Moments later, the aliens made their intentions clear. A transmission echoed across Earth's communication networks, overriding every channel. The image of a tall, insectoid creature with glowing eyes appeared, its voice cold and mechanical. "Your world has been chosen," it said. "Submit, and you will serve. Resist, and you will perish." The bridge fell silent. Rogers exchanged a glance with Harper and Malik. The message was simple, but its implications were terrifying. "Admiral Lee wants you on a secure line, Captain," said the comms officer, breaking the silence. "Patch it through to my ready room," Rogers said, striding toward the door. Before stepping inside, he turned back to his crew. "Keep tracking the anomaly and their fleet. If they move closer, I want to know." In his ready room, the Admiral's face appeared on the screen. Her expression was grave, her uniform crisp, despite the chaos erupting across Earth's defense networks. "Rogers, you're closest to the anomaly," she began. "We're scrambling the fleet, but we're hours behind. You'll need to intercept them and buy us time." "Understood, Admiral," Rogers replied. "But this isn't just an invasion. That black hole, it's a portal," she interrupted. "We've confirmed it. Whatever's coming through has the power to overwhelm us. Your orders are to assess their strength, delay their advance, and if possible, shut that thing down." Rogers clenched his jaw. "And if we can't?" The Admiral's voice softened. "Then you hold the line, Captain, for as long as you can." Back on the bridge, Rogers outlined their strategy. The Vanguard would take point, using its advanced weapons and shields to confront the alien fleet. Meanwhile, Harper would focus on studying the portal, searching for a way to collapse it before more ships could pass through. "We're the first line of defense," Rogers said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "And maybe the last. I won't lie to you, this isn't a fight we're expected to win, but we're the best damn crew in the fleet and we're going to give them hell." A cheer went up from the bridge, brief but determined. "Malik," Rogers said, turning to his tactical officer, "arm torpedoes and charge the main cannons. Harper, I need that portal analyzed yesterday, and someone get me a direct line to Earth Command. We'll need every scrap of intel they've got on these things." As the Vanguard accelerated toward the alien fleet, the anomaly loomed larger on the screen. More ships were emerging, their numbers growing by the minute. "Captain," Harper said, her voice urgent, "that signal from the portal, it's changing. It's directing their movements. If we can disrupt it, we might buy some time." Rogers finished. "Exactly," Rogers nodded. "Then that's our target. Malik, plot a course to the portal. We're taking the fight straight to them." The Vanguard surged forward, its engines blazing as it approached the heart of the invasion. On the horizon, Earth awaited, fragile and unprepared. "This is Captain Rogers," he said, broadcasting to his crew. We're facing the unknown, but one thing's certain. If we fail, Earth falls. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. The battle for humanity's survival had begun. The Vanguard rocketed toward the heart of the alien fleet, its shields shimmering with energy as the crew prepared for their first engagement. The ships emerging from the portal were unlike anything Rogers had seen in his decades of service. Their sleek, angular designs reflected an eerie green light, and their movements were unnervingly precise, as if directed by a single collective intelligence. "Tactical report," Rogers commanded, his voice cutting through the hum of the bridge. Commander Malik's hands flew over his console. "We're picking up at least 20 vessels directly ahead, ranging from frigate class to larger capital ships. Their weapon signatures are off the charts. Unknown energy readings across the board. Any weaknesses?" "None that we can see," Malik replied grimly. "Their hulls are deflecting standard scans. But if we can disrupt that signal Harper mentioned, it might throw them off." "Then that's our priority," Rogers said. "Harper, what's the status of the portal analysis?" Harper looked up from her station, frustration etched on her face. "The energy signature is unique. It's not just a portal, it's an anchor. The ships aren't just coming through it, they're drawing power from it." Rogers's eyes narrowed. "So if we sever that connection, we weaken them," Harper finished. "But we'll need to get closer to gather more data." "Closer?" Malik interjected. "We're already flying into a hornet's nest." Rogers leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the swirling rift ahead. "Then we'll swat the hornets. Malik, prep firing solutions. Let's see how these things handle a little human ingenuity." The alien fleet noticed the Vanguard's approach, and within moments, the first wave of ships broke formation to intercept. Their movements were unnervingly fluid, as if they were extensions of a single mind. "Enemy ships closing fast," Malik barked. "Weapons hot." "Fire at will," Rogers ordered. The Vanguard unleashed its payload. High-energy torpedoes streaked through the void, detonating in bursts of light as they struck the lead alien vessels. Some impacts caused hull breaches, sending fragments of alien metal spiraling into space, but others absorbed the damage with eerie ease. "They're adapting," Malik said. "Their shields are compensating for our weapons." "Then keep them guessing," Rogers replied. "Switch to alternating frequencies. Hit them where they don't expect it." The Vanguard danced through the battlefield, its thrusters firing in sharp bursts as it dodged incoming fire. The alien ships retaliated with beams of energy that crackled like lightning, tearing through space with devastating precision. One of the beams grazed the Vanguard's hull, shaking the entire ship. "Shields at 70%, Malik reported. "Maintain evasive maneuvers," Rogers said, his voice calm despite the chaos. "Harper, how's that analysis coming?" Harper's console lit up with streams of data. "We're close. The portal's energy output is off the charts, but there's a weak point, a central node stabilizing the structure. If we take it out, we might destabilize the whole thing. And the downside? It'll send out a massive energy surge," Harper said. "Could take us with it." Rogers nodded, his jaw set. "We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Malik, plot a course to the portal. We're going in." The Vanguard broke through the alien formation, its engines blazing as it sped toward the portal. Behind them, Earth's defense fleet scrambled to intercept the remaining ships, buying precious time for Rogers and his crew. The closer they got to the portal, the more intense the energy readings became. The black hole's edges shimmered with violent green and blue light, and tendrils of energy lashed out like living entities. "Captain," Harper said, her voice trembling, "we're entering the portal's outer field. If we get any closer..." "We don't have a choice," Rogers interrupted. "Prepare to fire on the node." As the Vanguard approached the center of the rift, the alien fleet converged around them, forming a protective barrier. The ship shuddered as more enemy fire rained down, and warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Shields at 30%. Malik shouted. "Hold steady!" Rogers barked. "Harper, target the node!" The holographic display on Harper's console zoomed in on the portal's core. The stabilizing node glowed brightly, pulsating in rhythm with the alien signal. "Locked on," she said. "Fire!" Rogers commanded. The Vanguard's main cannon roared to life, sending a concentrated beam of energy hurtling toward the node. The impact was immediate. A blinding flash of light erupted from the portal, and the node began to fracture. "They're panicking," Malik said as the alien ships faltered, their movements growing erratic. But the victory was short-lived. The portal's energy surged wildly, and the rift began to destabilize. The black hole's edges expanded, pulling debris and ships into its depths. "Captain, the portal's collapsing," Harper shouted. "Engines to full," Rogers ordered. "Get us out of here." The Vanguard turned sharply, its thrusters firing at maximum capacity as it raced away from the collapsing rift. Behind them, the alien ships were caught in the maelstrom, their sleek forms torn apart by the gravitational forces. The ship barely escaped the event horizon, the bridge erupting in cheers as they cleared the danger zone. Aftermath. The portal collapsed in on itself, leaving only a faint ripple in space where the black hole had once been. The alien fleet had been decimated and Earth was safe. For now. On the bridge, Rogers leaned back in his chair, exhaustion etched into his features. "Status report," he said. "Shields at 10%, Malik replied. "Hull damage minimal. We're alive, Captain." Harper smiled faintly. "And the portal's gone. They won't be sending reinforcements anytime soon." Rogers nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars ahead. "We bought Earth some time," he said. "But this isn't over. They know we're here now, and they'll be back." He turned to his crew, a determined glint in his eyes. "We'll be ready." The Vanguard limped back toward Earth, its engines strained and shields barely holding together. The crew's relief at escaping the portal's collapse was short-lived as new data streamed into the ship's sensors. "Captain," Harper said, her voice tight with urgency, "I'm picking up faint energy signatures trailing us. It's them." "How many?" Rogers asked, his tone sharp. "Just one ship, but it's massive," Harper replied, displaying the readings on the main screen. The alien vessel was unlike the smaller warships they had faced before. It was gargantuan, its surface bristling with spiked formations that glowed faintly green. "It's a command ship," Malik said grimly. "They sent it through as a failsafe." Rogers leaned forward in his chair, his eyes narrowing as he studied the enemy vessel. "They're not retreating, they're regrouping." Harper nodded. "That portal may be gone, but this ship is broadcasting a signal, likely calling for reinforcements from wherever they came." "Then we take it out," Rogers said, his voice resolute. The Vanguard veered off course, leading the alien command ship away from Earth. Rogers knew they couldn't risk a direct confrontation near the planet. Their best chance was to engage the vessel in the dead of space, far from civilian populations. "Harper, can you jam their signal?" Rogers asked. "Not completely," she admitted, "but I can scramble it, slow it down enough to buy us some time." "Do it," Rogers ordered. The Vanguard deployed countermeasures, sending waves of interference to disrupt the alien signal. The command ship responded immediately, its massive form accelerating toward them. "They're not backing down," Malik said, his hands gripping the controls. "They're locking weapons." "Good," Rogers replied. "Let's see how they like being outmaneuvered." The Vanguard launched a series of decoy drones, their signals mimicking the ship's energy signature. The alien vessel hesitated, its weapons firing at the false targets. "Now's our chance," Rogers shouted. "Malik, target their engines. Harper, keep scrambling that signal." The Vanguard unleashed a barrage of torpedoes, striking the alien ship's propulsion systems. Explosions rippled along its hull, and the massive vessel slowed, its movements becoming sluggish. "We've got them," Malik said, a rare smile breaking through his usually grim demeanor. "Don't get cocky," Rogers warned. "They're still dangerous." The alien ship's signal weakened, but Harper's scans revealed a chilling discovery. "Captain," she said, her voice filled with unease, "there's a secondary power source deep inside that ship. It's not just controlling their weapons, it's powering their signal." "What are you saying?" Rogers asked. "I'm saying we need to board it," Harper replied. Rogers didn't hesitate. "Prep an away team. If we're going to stop this thing, we need to hit it from the inside." Within minutes, a small team assembled in the hangar bay. Rogers led the group, his presence a steadying force among the crew. "This is a surgical strike," he said, addressing the team. "We get in, disable their power core, and get out. Stick together and keep your comms open. Let's move." The team boarded a small shuttle and launched toward the alien vessel. The enemy ship was enormous up close, its surface marked by jagged ridges and glowing fissures. They found an entry point near the damaged engines, cutting through the hull with plasma torches. The interior of the ship was dark and humid, its walls pulsing faintly with green light. "Stay sharp," Roger said, his weapon at the ready. The heart of the beast, the team navigated the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. The ship felt alive, its walls shifting slightly as if aware of their presence. "This place is a nightmare," one of the crew muttered. Harper studied her scanner. "The power core is up ahead, but I'm picking up movement. We're not alone." As they turned a corner, they were met by the ship's defenders, sleek humanoid drones with glowing eyes and razor-sharp limbs. "Contact," Rogers shouted, opening fire. The drones moved with terrifying speed, their weapons slicing through the air. The team fought desperately, their pulse rifles illuminating the dark corridors with bursts of light. Rogers took point, his aim precise as he cut down one drone after another. "Harper, how much farther?" "Just ahead," she shouted, pointing to a massive chamber at the end of the corridor. The team pushed forward, breaking through the drone's defenses and entering the chamber. At its center stood the power core, a towering structure that pulsed with blinding energy. "There it is," Harper said, her voice filled with both awe and dread. The core was protected by a shield of rotating energy, its hum growing louder as the team approached. Harper worked quickly to disable the shield, her hands flying over the alien console. "Cover me," she shouted as more drones swarmed into the chamber. Rogers and the team formed a defensive perimeter, holding back the attackers with everything they had. The battle was brutal, and the team suffered losses, but they held their ground. "The shield's down," Harper yelled. "We can overload the core." Rogers didn't hesitate. "Plant the charges. We end this now." The team set explosive charges around the core, their countdown ticking away as the drones pressed their attack. "Detonation in 30 seconds, Harper warned. "Fall back," Rogers ordered. The team retreated through the corridors, the sound of explosions echoing behind them. They reached their shuttle just as the core detonated, sending a massive shockwave through the alien ship. The Vanguard watched from a safe distance as the command ship erupted in a blinding explosion, its fragments scattering into the void. Back on the Vanguard, the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory. The alien signal had been silenced, and Earth was safe, for now. On the bridge, Rogers stared at the remains of the alien ship on the main screen. "We stopped them this time," he said, "but we've only scratched the surface. Whatever's out there, it knows we're here now." Harper nodded. "And it won't stop until it's found us again." Rogers turned to his crew, his expression resolute. "Then we'll be ready. The fight's just begun." Prologue. The second signal, 6 months had passed since Captain Rogers and the crew of the Vanguard had destroyed the alien command ship and collapsed the portal. Earth had been spared, but the victory came with an ominous cost. The alien signal, thought to be silenced, re-emerged. This time, it wasn't coming from Earth's vicinity. It was coming from deep within the galaxy. In the dimly lit war room of Earth Fleet Command, holograms displayed the faint but unmistakable signal. The encoded message was as unsettling as it was cryptic. "We are not defeated. The rift awakens." Rogers, now hailed as a hero across Earth, stood at the head of the table, his expression hard. He had been recalled to lead an urgent expedition. "We stopped them once," he said, his voice calm but steely. "But this isn't over. If the rift is active again, it's not just Earth at stake. It's everything." Chapter 1. Into the Unknown. The Vanguard, now retrofitted with enhanced Watcher-derived technology, prepared for its most dangerous mission yet, tracking the signal to its source. The crew, veterans of the first encounter, were grim but determined. Harper, the ship's science officer, had spent months studying the data from the first portal collapse. "Captain," she said during the briefing, "the signal is coming from a location that defies conventional physics. It's as if space itself is being folded, like another portal but much larger." "What's on the other side?" Rogers asked. Harper hesitated. We don't know. But if the aliens are using it, it could be the heart of their operation. Rogers nodded. Then we're going in. If they're rebuilding, we need to stop them before they're strong enough to strike again. The crew strapped in as the Vanguard launched into hyperspace. The ship's sleek new design gleamed against the starry backdrop, its engines humming with energy drawn from the Watcher upgrades. Chapter 2. The Rift reborn as the Vanguard emerged from hyperspace. The source of the signal loomed ahead. It wasn't a simple portal like before. It was a massive structure, kilometers wide, pulsating with crimson and green energy. Surrounding it were fleets of alien ships, far more numerous and advanced than the ones Earth had faced during the first invasion. "By the stars," Malik, the tactical officer, muttered. "That's not just a portal. It's a gateway." The structure appeared alive, its tendrils of energy stretching out into space, anchoring it to nearby systems. Harper's scanners lit up with readings she couldn't fully interpret. "This thing is drawing power from multiple stars," she said. "It's a Dyson-like construct, a siphon." "What are they powering?" Rogers asked. "Their return," Harper replied grimly. "This gateway is their answer to what we did. They're not just coming back, they're coming en masse." The Vanguard's presence did not go unnoticed. Swarms of alien ships detached from the gateway, heading directly toward them. Their designs were sleeker and more advanced than before, with weapon signatures that dwarfed anything Earth had encountered. "Enemy ships incoming," Malik shouted. "Too many to count. Evasive maneuvers," Rogers barked. "Harper, we need intel on that gateway. Is there any way to shut it down?" "I'm working on it," she replied, her fingers flying over the console. The Vanguard wove through the enemy formation, its enhanced shields absorbing blow after blow. Rogers directed precise counterattacks using their upgraded weapons to take out smaller vessels while avoiding the capital ships. "Captain," Harper called out, "the gateway has a core, an anchor point. If we can disrupt its power flow, we might destabilize the entire structure." "And let me guess," Rogers said, dodging another blast. "It's deep inside that thing." Harper nodded. "We'll have to infiltrate it. There's no other way." The core was a swirling mass of energy, suspended in the center of a vast, cathedral-like chamber. Tendrils of light connected it to the walls, pulsating with power. Harper immediately began setting up the EMP device. "This will take a few minutes," she said. "Cover me." The team formed a defensive perimeter as more drones poured into the chamber. The battle was fierce, and the casualties mounted. Rogers fought with the precision and determination that had earned him his legendary status, but even he knew they were outmatched. Just as Harper finished arming the device, a massive figure entered the chamber. It was an alien commander, larger and more imposing than anything they had encountered. Its voice echoed through their minds. "Fools, you cannot stop the rift. You have only delayed the inevitable." The commander unleashed a devastating attack, scattering the team. Rogers stood his ground, engaging the alien in a brutal fight while Harper completed the final steps of the EMP activation. The sacrifice, the EMP device was armed, but the core's energy surged, threatening to overload the entire structure. Harper realized the only way to ensure the EMP worked was to manually detonate it from inside the chamber. "Captain," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos, "I have to stay behind." "No," Rogers said, his voice breaking for the first time. "There's another way." "There isn't," she replied, locking eyes with him. "Get the team out of here. Save Earth." Rogers hesitated, but he knew she was right. "We'll finish this," he said, his voice heavy. "I promise." The team retreated, carrying their wounded as the EMP detonated. The explosion rippled through the gateway, tearing it apart in a blinding flash of light. Epilogue. The rift collapses. Back on the Vanguard, the crew watched as the gateway disintegrated, its tendrils retracting as the rift collapsed. The alien fleet, cut off from their power source, faltered and retreated into the void. Earth was safe once again, but the cost was staggering. Rogers stood on the bridge, staring at the empty space where the gateway had been. "She gave us a chance," he said quietly. "We won't waste it." The signal was gone, but the crew knew the aliens would not stop. As the Vanguard returned to Earth, Rogers made a vow. humanity would be ready for whatever came next. The end, for now.